Hey Lucy, it's Oscar Sanchez here. I am going to explain the offer that you are about to sign so that you fully understand what is going on and what you are signing so you can be confident tomorrow that you know exactly what you're doing and you're an empowered buyer. So first of all, the first uh, set of documents that we're going to look at is called the the residential resale contract, and we use this contract in Texas for any home that is not a builder home. So if it's been lived in once and we're reselling it, we're going to use this contract. Um, Section 1 describes the seller and the buyer. The seller is Jonah McMurray, and you are the buyer. Uh, Section 2 describes the legal description of the property, which includes the property address, the lot, block, and subdivision of that. Section B describes everything that's included in the property. So all you need to know is if it's attached to the property, it is included, and a stove, if it's there, would also be included as well. Things that are hanging are not included in terms of they're not considered part of the property. If it's screwed on or if it's attached to the property, then that will convey with the property. Also, keys, garage door openers, any other devices that you use to access the property or to clean the property that is custom will also remain with the purchase of this transaction. The sales price of this offer is 105. I like 105 because it's a very clean number. It tells them that we are not giving full price. Also, we're asking for, we're putting 20% down, which is $21,000 even, which makes the financing portion, which you're going to get for your loan, 84,000. And notice on part 4, I'm saying that we are getting a loan from a third party, and the property, if the property does not satisfy the lender's underwriting requirement for the loan, included but not limited to appraisal, insurability, and lender required repairs, buyer may terminate this contract by giving notice to seller prior to closing, and the earnest money will be refunded to buyer. This is my absolute clause. Like that property has to approve for your loan or you get your money back. You do lose a little money. You'll lose your option money because at that time we would have passed your option period, and you more than likely will lose an inspection fee that you paid for and an appraisal, and if the lender requires anything else up front. But you will be able to retain your earnest money and get that money back. Typically, what we do is we resell our inspection report to the next buyer and say, hey, look, we have an inspection report. This home didn't qualify for an FHA. We know that you're getting a conventional or paying cash. Would you like to buy the inspection report from us? And we'll give it to them at a discount, maybe deduct $100 from it so that we can get something back, recoup our losses. Um, Section 2 talks about the earnest money and where it's going to be held. We want earnest money to be held at Republic Title with Scott Herman. He's my closing officer. He's been in business for about 15 years, and I like Republic Title. They do an amazing job. They always come through for my clients. Title policy shall be paid for by the seller. They're paying for a buyer's policy, which will ensure that the property does not have any liens or deed restrictions, and that you'll be able to review all the necessary documents to ensure that you know what you're buying legally, and that you know all the easements and the restrictions that the city has on that property. So general rule of thumb, you can build behind the property, no problems at all. In front of the property will require a permit and or approval if there's a deed restriction. So carports are something that a lot of people like to buy or like to think about. There's no problem adding a carport to the side of a house or to the front of a house. You just have to make sure that you have the correct deed restrictions or there's not a deed restriction for a carport. Um, Section C of Part 6, we are requesting that within 15 days we will get a new survey. We're telling the title company to go ahead and order that for us. And you can object in writing and get your earnest money back within 3 days of receiving any defects or encumbrances to titles. So, for example, if they say, hey, this is a residential use slash industrial use area, you say, hey, no, I don't want my next door neighbor, working on cars. Then you have the right to terminate and return and receive your earnest money back. So once again, it's another way to protect yourself to ensure that you get exactly what you're paying for. Next page, on page 3 of 9, membership in Property Owners Association. This property is not in a mandatory HOA, so we're going to skip all that. We're going to go to section 7. We are saying that we have received notice for what's called a seller's disclosure, which I'll go over next in this next document that we're going to work off of, and we're accepting the property in its current condition. That means that we're not asking for any initial repairs. We can still ask for repairs later on if something comes up in the option period. So the next section, section H, talks about $450. At closing, they will pay us, if they agree to this contract, $450 to choose a home warranty company of our choice. And I would like to use Old Home Republic. They are the best. They charge about 50 to 65 bucks a service call, and they have yet to let a client of mine down. And every time they do repair or replacement costs on something, I get a postcard that says, "Hey, Tiffany, Tiffany got her washing machines replaced, or she got her HVAC units, brand new HVAC units." So I know that they actually pay out on the things that they say they're going to do. We're requesting closing to occur on April 4th. Once again, this is a strategic move on my part, and I'll tell you why. It's March 2nd. If we were to close it at the end of the 31st, the banks would have been really tight and more than likely would have been bumped. And then in order for us to get an extension, we would be at the mercy of the seller. Not really, but they could say, "Hey, look, we'll give you an extension, but you're going to pay our next mortgage payment." So I also like to close at the beginning of March, because if you close at the beginning of March, you will get all of March free without a mortgage payment. You'll get all of May free without a mortgage payment. And your first mortgage payment at a super low, low price of whatever the Wells Fargo lady tells you will be due June 1st. So you basically, by strategically placing your close date on this date, even if the buyer, or excuse me, even if the seller has to make a mortgage payment, they don't have to make the mortgage payment by the 4th. It won't be considered late. They can't tell you, "Hey, they have to make another mortgage payment. I don't want to do this." And you get 2 free months. So this is the kind of stuff I really like. We are saying that we will take possession upon closing and funding. This is the part that most buyers, they forget that we talk about this. Closing is where you sign the documents, and funding is where the money is delivered from the bank electronically to the title company, and the title company disperses money to every party that's involved in the contract that is due something. So if you close on a Friday in the afternoon, you may not fund until Monday because the wires cut off about 2 o'clock. So you always want to close in the morning so that you can get keys that same day. Else, note that if you close past 1 o'clock, you will more than likely not receive keys to the following business day. And if there's a bank holiday, you will not receive keys until the bank holiday has expired until the next business day that is not a holiday. Title companies work on banker time, which means if the banks are closed, they are closed because they all work through wires. Section 11, we are requesting a stove and fridge shall be installed 2 days after execution of this contract, and that is to ensure that we are getting those two things included in the contract. So number one, the stove is for the FHA, and the fridge is because you told me that they said they were going to include one. Section 12, we are requesting $5,000 at closing to go towards your closing cost, and that will pay whatever Wells Fargo says is due in terms of closing costs. So like your recording fee, your title document fee, your doc prep fee, the lawyer fee, your transaction fee, whatever fees that are on that settlement statement, $5,000 to basically cover that payment. And it might be less, and if it's so, if they counter at this, then we'll play with the numbers. But right now, 5,000 is a good number. Prorations, the seller will give you prorations from January 1st up until the day that you close. What that means is, since you will have more than likely an escrow account, the seller is going to put money into your escrow account so that at the end of the year, you'll be able to, or your bank will be able to pay the full property taxes that will be due. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you close in January. No, let's say you close in the middle of the year. So that's June. That's a 6th month. And the property taxes are $12,000. Well, if you close in June, you're going to be living in the property for half the time, or half a year, or 6 months. That's $6,000 that come out of your pocket, and the seller will put $6,000 in an escrow account so that every time you put $1,000 in the escrow account for each month, at the end of the year, you will still have $12,000. Well, the bank, who's more than likely going to manage your escrow account, will pay your taxes in full from the money that's in the escrow account. Sometimes the escrow money it fluctuates. I still haven't figured it out. Someone tried to explain it to me. It has something to do with leap years, but sometimes there's more money in it and they'll give you a refund, and sometimes it's less money and they'll ask for like a check for $50 because there's a limit on how much money can be in an escrow account because the bank receives interest. Anyways, go on. This is all. I'm requesting that all the notices from the title company get emailed to you, and I'm going to get carbon copied so I know what's going on. Make sure there's nothing fishy. The things that are included in this contract are third-party financing addendum, which says that you're getting a loan. We're also going to do a lead-based paint addendum, which is not marked in here, but I'll mark it on the one I'm going to send out. And then we're requesting a 10-day option period. That means you have 10 days to back out for any reason. Just give me notice so that I can write written notice and have you sign it and submit it, and we'll be good to go. Days on market or days on this contract begin next day. So for example, today's the 2nd. If we were to execute today, we would put the 2nd day of March 2014. Day number 1 will be tomorrow, and day number 2 would be Tuesday, and so forth. So if you have 10 days, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wednesday, 12 midnight would be your time. I need 24-hour notice to give notice so I can be sure to write the correct documentation up, have you sign it, and submit it. So if we execute this contract, just know that you have 9 days to let me know so that we can get it in by the 10th day. Okay, that is that. Third-party financing addendum. This basically says, uh, where are you? Well, you know what? I'm not going to go over that one because I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Third party describes the type of loan that you're going to get. This says that you are getting an FHA loan for $84,000, interest rate not to exceed 4.75 for 30 years, and your origination fee not to exceed 1%. And that's for your protection. We don't want the bank to gouge you on closing costs. So 1% is your origination fee, and that's what your lender will get paid typically. They might have to split it with their broker, but 1% of the loan is what typically a lender gets paid. Also, um, this says that the property must appraise for 105. So if the property appraises for less, then you'll be able to back out or renegotiate terms. It's another way that I protect my clients. And I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go quickly on this next one. Seller's disclosure. This is a 4-page form that is templated by the state of Texas, given to sellers. They ask generic questions, how long they've lived in the property, what things are working, what things are not working. They are required to give this to you. And what this seller is saying that at this particular property, they have not lived in the home. It's never occupied. So what this tells me is they're probably either a landlord, and that's why they're selling this property, or they bought this or inherited this property from someone. So it's going to be very important that we look at a inspection report to actually determine the true condition and the nature of this home so that you can be an informed buyer. Okay, that is all the documents that you're going to be signing today. You're going to be signing three, oops, nope, you'll be signing one more. And the last one is called last document that you'll be signing is called a lead-based paint addendum. And I don't think I have it here. Lead-based paint addendum basically says that properties built before 1973 used to, and some of them did, were painted inside the home with a material that had lead in it. Lead-based paint was very common back then, so if you buy a home that's built before 1973, you might want to know that there could possibly be lead-based paint. I've never seen lead-based paint in any of the homes. This is one of these things that it was a big scare and probably necessary a long time ago, but to cure lead-based paint, you simply paint over it with a latex paint, and that prevents lead-based paint from flaking and getting into little children's mouths and causing lead poisoning. So, if you have any questions about this offer, please call me. I know it went very quickly, but just know that you are in good hands, and I am doing my best to ensure that you're getting this property at a really good deal. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.